For this project, for this lower level renovation project, I'm going to make this video as I kind of build it along in order to keep it manageable and to give you the information earlier so that your feedback can come sooner as we go along, so that we don't spend any unnecessary time. This was the existing plan here, and I have put all this plumbing together to see what could be done in terms of using that space. And I began by you're going to add a mantelpiece to this fireplace here. The hearth isn't shown. So I broke away actually and did that hearth and did that fireplace, and I wanted to show you some of these textures so that we can get a feel for how things are going to be represented before we begin to move walls and fixtures. First, with regard to most of these textures, this is really as close as I can kind of get to represent things. I know your paneling is a lot more mellow and smooth, and this appears at various points gray and at various points buff. So if you want to let me know what is more close, then you may as well. But I tried to lighten that paneling up and be a little bit closer to what yours is. This is where, if we took that paneling and just painted it, and you managed to prime it well enough that all the knots are hidden, this is kind of the feel with that. Now, some of these, sometimes if you auto-correct, this has been auto-corrected. Some people prefer it like that. This shows more of the color. So that is the painted paneling. And in one of my photos, this rock is almost grayscale. And this is where this autocorrect, this is supposed to be just a drywall color here. But again, if I undo this, everything is so washed out if I undo that autocorrect. And I think these windows are this solid vinyl color on both sides. So I'm not sure whether you are going to adjust all of these colors down here to work with that better than this white is or not, but I guess it needs to be considered. This was the painted paneling, and this was the drywall over, or the paneling removed and this drywalled. And I've settled on this, even though this looks yellow because I have the sun pointing at it. That can probably be adjusted, but I've settled on this to work with the plan for now. And this is a view that one of the views we'll be working with when we start renovating this, to see how far this kitchen begins to encroach into this space. So it looks to me like the wall color should be trying to work with those windows. Probably a lot of these colors are going to have to work with those windows, I would think. Then returning to this, using that fireplace and balancing off of there and saying that all of this is going to be, living in bedroom over here. This is kind of what we have to work with, just going in. It's 21'6" for that area, 13'4" over here. We have a 4-foot path coming in here, but we're probably going to need some more room for this, and this is going to become quite a bit longer here, and there's no way to move that door, so this is going to become more of a corridor down here. And maybe I could see this wall moving up another 4 inches in any event, maybe even 8 inches to get more space. Going forward, these numbers down here are going to be the file number. In case we come up with several alternatives, it'll be noted at this file number here. So this is 816 when I began to work with this plan and make some alterations. And first of all, a couple quick comments about the sewer line. My presumption, because of these drops right here, is that the sewer line is going straight back like this, and that it will stay there. And so we have a 4-inch clean out that points that way at an angle, and we have a 4-inch clean out here that points straight up. So those we have to consider. We have the water meter down here, and these are the toilet drops from the 2nd floor, or 1st floor, however you want to look at it. And it's put together like this. So even though that is going to have to be cracked at some point, that 4-inch line that runs presumably like this under here to allow that new toilet drop to come into it. We assume everything is staying in place just like this with these two drops from the first floor, including that whole stack. Nothing's going to change with that. So that means we need to maintain access from this way for that 4-inch cleanout, and access to this 4-inch cleanout down here, this one that's straight vertical, as well as the water meter down here. So because I knew we were going to be trying to get a lot of things in here, I knew we were going to need all the space that we possibly can, even though right now it seems like there's a generous amount of space over here. But because I knew I wanted to get all the space that I possibly could, the first thing I did was work with how close to this plumbing we can get, since we can just take all this down and start again with that wall framing. And this little series is me doing that, pulling that back as far as possible, and I'm not really sure that that's the end of the line there, but that's where I stopped it for that moment. And maybe you can see it a little better like this or like that. Just going in, I made this a closet area here with double doors that don't interfere with that, and then moved that door that's here, rotated it to hinge this way and swing into this room here. And that's that second floor toilet there. That's actually right there, and it still doesn't interfere with that door. The bottom of this is at 79. So if you put a ceiling in here, I would think this might be able to be moved up an inch or two so that you could actually have a ceiling in that room if you thought that was necessary. Then I moved that wall out a little bit to make that space 4 feet here, and then really you can move that wall all the way back to there. You could see the clean out here, so you would have to have an access panel on that side inside the closet, an access panel. And if you didn't care about that coming out, you could even push this back a little bit further, or you could just have it like this where it's completely open. And that was as far as I took those walls. This one here, when I began to work with that I pulled that back as far as this hose bib, so that this hose bib line goes through that wall and out without relocating that hose. And you can see that the little corner of this toilet drop is into this space here. Then I began to work with more of the bathroom and began to consider, where am I going to put the sink, the toilet, and the shower, and I knew I was going to leave substantial space to do that. And I guess perhaps because the sink was already there, I started with the idea that the sink in the bathroom would be down here. And I began to push that wall out so that I could get that sink where there would be a possibility of a mirror in front of it without it getting too close to this window. You could of course locate it on the window, but none of that mattered because we need this space, and we might need even more than this. And besides, if the stack washer dryer ends up somewhere inside this bathroom enclosure, then the folding space will be nice here. But looking at this, the vanity or what I have for cabinetry, and you can do whatever you want. Across here you have 90 inches to work with, so whatever you would want to do with that 90 inches. I have done it this way. Well, I started by doing it this way, but I wanted to move that sink over even further from the window so that the mirror wasn't going to crowd the window. So I put these drawers over here and moved this over here, and I think I moved that wall out another. So I moved this wall out and moved that cabinet over here, and this became a 39-inch wide cabinet here. You could even, depending on where you get it or how you get it, you could even have two little drawers there, or these can be configured any way you want. I have open shelves here. You can do what you like. And this is why I pushed that over like this, to give a little bit of a margin between those two. But that's what I started with, and then one of the go-in questions is that the door is going to be on this wall or this wall here, and I wasn't sure. We wanted that into this area, which is the kitchen and living area, But you know, this is not really, this is just kind of an apartment thing, setting, so maybe it's not so bad to have it down here, coming in this way rather than somewhere on this wall here. You can see this wall, this hall begins to get long here, maybe 9 feet from the end of that door before you hit this corner. So I started with the door on this wall here to see how that would develop, and you know, I'm hoping to get the toilet, a shower, and the stack washer. This is my first approach, is to get the stack washer inside here. I'm hoping to get the stack washer back in here, and I'm hoping, and then so that leaves, you know, the toilet, and I have it here so it doesn't have to travel as far, and I'm putting the shower here to start. This was a typical alcove shower, so the way I'm showing it here, you could have anything up to a 48-inch alcove type shower, and they have all those units that have seats built into them and that sort of thing. So if that is the sort of thing that you had in mind, then you should shop those and see what you think. And actually, you can, even if we leave this shower in this orientation facing this way, we would still be able to get up to a 4.5 foot, a 54-inch alcove type shower as well. Probably push this wall a couple inches that way to accommodate that. I would not do the alcove. Like, this is not too bad. I guess you can have a towel bar back here, which is nice, but in that event, if this is what you want, my approach will be to rotate that shower this way and face it this way, and see what else I do with the extra space this way. But otherwise, because it's very tempting just to stop and finish this out now, but I'm just going to continue because a lot of this is already done, and there are quite a lot of things to say about the shower enclosure, meaning the glass and its hardware, and the shower base, and furthermore the shower itself. In terms of the shower base, the main thing you're considering is how high it is. This one's 4 inches high, so that's one thing to consider. And you have to, if you're going to have a ceramic tile base or wood base, how that is going to interface with how high that fiberglass base is. With regard to the enclosure itself, some of these come almost 80 inches high, and some of them come, most of them come 72 inches high, the glass. But you have to decide how you're going to get in and out of your shower, whether it's going to be a hinged door or a sliding door or a bypass door. This from Vigo, that's apparently how their door interfaces. I just took a screenshot of that. This is a bypass door on a 48-inch wide double threshold shower, and yours can be up to, probably if we rotate that shower, it probably can be up to 60 inches wide. If we rotate that and face it down toward the window, which is what I'm inclined to do regardless of whether it's alcove style or this double threshold style, because I already know how the rest of this is going to finish, I think. This is shown with a 48-inch, and this is the thing to consider, is with some of these enclosures, you might just have a glass place put this together, like Kettering glass or a place like that, put it together, because then you can have towel bars mounted on the outside, various accoutrements can be added to the glass rather than buying, and I don't know how the price compares, rather than buying one of these for $9 and only getting what you get. There is, it looks like there's a towel bar here, and I don't know if you can have that, if that's facing out or not. In any event, that points out some of the things to consider with regard to that enclosure. I like this arrangement because of the way you don't have to have the door, if you like a hinged door, you don't have to have the door hinged into the solid wall. They have this panel, and you can see that the arm up there holds that rigid enough. A couple other things. Instead of having any of these built up thresholds like this or that, now that one, by the way, from Dreamline, these are only about 2 3/4 high. So that is a lower threshold than the ones we saw from Vivo. But it would require excavating that out to whatever extent. But if you used that shorter one, if you used that Dreamline, if you used one of the Dreamline models that's 3 inches, then they could probably just move some gravel, pour a slab, 2 or 3 inch slab, and then put this down there. Then your tile would come over the lip of the front of the top of this, and off wherever it's going, it would come over this lip and over that threshold there, and then you would step down into that. So you have to think about the doors and their hinging and what I just said, which I think that would be really, that eliminates a lot of cracks and stuff that has to be caulked, etc. This one brings up a number of things, and I suppose one of the most critical questions you can answer is this whole arrangement. Secondarily though, your wall tile, it would be nice to know what you want to use there, because what I'll be showing will be pretty ugly until you say so. The other thing with regard to this though, this could probably be accommodated if this whole thing was rotated. Where's the shower head? Well, I guess if you have a short ceiling, so that if you could work with this shower head on the ceiling, this arrangement could work on that west wall facing down toward the window. Which is another reason I like it, the idea of putting the shower, rotating the shower, if it's a rectangular shower, rotating it and putting it up there, so that you can actually see out that window from up there. Well, I guess if the shower head is on the ceiling, you can see the window from really any location except that alcove facing to the north. This last one is another one that's hinged on the solid wall, but this also shows that if you have a glass person put this together, depending on what you're looking for there, that you can use whatever various kinds of glass shading. But this manufacturer from Dreamline, if this was something that interested a person, it could be used. These precast fiberglass or whatever they're made of, these low profile from Dreamline, are those 3 colors. There's that 48 to 54. And I don't know if these blinds are going to be replaced, and this siding is coming off, and these casings are coming off and being replaced. Since these windows were put in this way or done this way, they can be moved up so that there's less of all this plastic being shown. Particularly at the bottom, even if the blinds are staying, then the bottom could at least move up like to here. Also, I would assume that this tile is going to run at least at a certain height around the entire bathroom. Perhaps this backsplash is some sort of tile that you select. This next series kind of haphazardly explores various little alternatives within this space shown here. First thing was getting a combination washer and dryer. I have this as a stacked unit in here, and that backs up between these, between this plumbing back in that room. This is the back side of that. So I have it pushed as far east as possible, as you can see down here where it's hitting this. And there's room to play with that, and this doesn't even need relocated, this little drop here. So there's a little bit of a couple inches to play with. This is the hallway here, and then I was showing this kind of deep closet that backed all the way up where that clean out came through the wall, and then this is where I just eliminated that. We have to fit the kitchen cabinets, and if we're going to put them on this thing here, we need to have that door so you can begin to see this begins to get squeezed in here, and I think eventually, but let me just try to, even though some of these are saved as JPGs, which is annoying, this C, besides I kept pushing this door up and accounting for the 24-inch deep cabinets on this wall here, this puts these 12-inch deep full height cabinets on this wall here and leaves this closet, well, where it's probably 36 inches across here. This is a 32-inch double door. This gets rid of these cabinets here in lieu of a much bigger closet here, and I mean this could be storage back here, and then hanging rods here, and with a deep full height cabinet here. This, okay, that was just messing with those doors, so trying to size those doors so they didn't fight with that other door coming into the apartment. So now I move this down to closer to a standard depth. Standard depth is 24 inches, but most of this is doors, so you'll have pretty much standard depth anyway. And I think we're finally done with the JPGs, and I needed that extra room, so I moved this wall a little further west, cut this down to 3'8", which is still 44 inches, and it's still about 9 feet here, so we haven't increased that length. This adds some kitchen cabinets in to begin to see how we're going to build the kitchen if the door is down here, and in these ones, we have to put a refrigerator somewhere in these ones here. So if the door comes in from the little hallway, and then you can build a corner cabinet, corner kitchen like that, and you have to decide where the refrigerator goes in that environment. And maybe it's just a straight bank. Maybe that straight bank is all just down here and starts pushing this window a little bit further. But a sink also, presumably somewhere along there, and mixed into one of these plans. This gets the shower all the way up to 60 inches. Can't be any wider than the 32, but it does get a full 60-inch length. And that's that for now. I'm just going to get this thing compiled, or I will start to do some additional alternatives. You let me know if you prefer this washer and dryer, perhaps fronting into the hall through this way, and then this becomes the laundry area on your way in. I mean, that you can do with the machine here. If the machine is up here though, then we have to try to get this toilet to go back in here, which is probably doable, but just doable and meet code. So think about these various things. I know there's a lot of them, but thanks very much, and I will wait to hear at least a little feedback from you before I do anything else with this for now.